If I listened to what everybody else told me my entire life, I would have accomplished nothing. Even with the success I've had, when I start a new business, I still have people, even in my circle, not the close circle, but family, friends, you have to forgive them because they just can't see the bigger picture. They don't get it, and you'll waste so much energy being upset about that. But you have to, at the end of the day, be the voice of reason and realize what you're doing is bigger than anything they could have ever imagined, and that's why they feel intimidated by it.
Thank you. All right, I got one more round of questions that I'm going to ask, and then we're going to open it up for you guys to ask questions. So my next question is, George, if you can go, how old are you now?
I am 29 years old.
So if you can go back to your 18-year-old self, what would you say to him?
Start now.
Now unpack that a little bit. You can't just drop that on me. You got to unpack that a little bit.
No one's going to come save you. Nobody's going to reassure you of your dreams. There's not going to be that movie moment where everything just clicks. You have to create your own movie, and you have to be the protagonist in that. And you have to move forward and believe in yourself so much that sometimes you even think you're delusional.
I love it. Same question, Desmond. If you can go back to your 18-year-old self, what would you say to
Only
him?
like 2 years ago, man. I'm 26 years old, but
he wish it was 2
I'm
years ago.
27. Hold up.
See? Don't forget about the birthday.
Oh, no, hold on. I might be old. Nah, I would tell myself, 18 years old, know who you are, and then align yourself with a purpose. And once you find a purpose, start mapping everything out that is to get you where you're destined to be and where you are predestined to be. And literally just stick to that road. Lock in, focus, drown out the noises. Absolutely, being from a piece where there's too many noises that can be let in, that can drown you if you don't drown them out. So really just locking into who I am and my purpose.
All right, now Lorne, you got maybe 3 more years of these guys, right? Can you tell us what you would tell your 18-year-old self?
That life is really not a social event. Okay, it's okay, even at 18, and I was in college, I went to USC in Los Angeles, and certainly coming from Braddock to Los Angeles was a culture change, but I had to have the discipline, even then, to be able to not go to the beach or but to go to class and do what I came here to do. And even at that age, having to take those responsibilities into account made me realize that, it's okay to party, and I've certainly done my share of that. But you also have to take care of business. It's okay to start envisioning the type of person you want to be, even at an early age when you're supposed to just be enjoying the fact that you're, a young adult. Allow yourself some time to be serious and invest in yourself even at a very early age. If that's not doing anything, then reading or finding something that interests you, it'll pay dividends down the road. You certainly don't want to be a 30-year-old teenager still trying to figure out what you're going to do next.
Good stuff. All right, Ashley, you had the first question or comment.
So my question is, being from the Mon Valley, I'm from Menneson. My husband's born and raised in McKeesport as well. And for so many, I need to get out of the Mon Valley. But the Mon Valley is such a special place, being that you guys are from the area. Why was it important for you to have your businesses here instead of picking up and leaving or coming back, from California?
I can answer that one first. We can all answer that one. We all have it. So for me, I went to college in Ohio. I went to Youngstown State, and I met my wife before we went to college together. We got married while we were in college, and she didn't want to leave Ohio. She wanted to stay in Ohio. But for me, there were so many of me left in Duquesne that I wanted to be able to be an example for, to show them that, yes, you can go and be successful, and you can be successful and live in what some people regard as the hood. I call it my neighborhood, right? So I wanted to come back and show people that, and my peers and those who are younger than me, that yes, I came from here, But I went there, got what I needed to get, and I'm coming back here to make sure that the next generation knows that it's possible. So that was part one. But part two was whenever I got into ministry, I wanted to be able to do ministry where I needed somebody to be in ministry for me. So I wanted to be what I didn't have. So I came back, and it was important to me to come back so I can be what I didn't have. And I hate when people say we need the Mon Valley to look like it used to. We need to look like what it can look like. Because it was great in its heyday, and it was great for the people of that time. But it's new people, it's new energy, and things have been innovated. So I'm not concerned about reaching back and pulling back the 80s. I want to go into the 2020s and 30s so that we can see what the Mon Valley could actually be. That a place where you all want to stay and you all want to live and or come back to if you choose to leave for a period of time.
Yeah, so to answer that question, I don't remember the exact song lyric, but Drake has a song where he talks about just traveling and how every city is really the same at the end of the day. And there is no just escaping the Mon Valley and then all your problems get solved magically. Every place is the same. You're going to have the same haters, the same people that inspire you. It's like a formula that I believe like God makes. It's all really the same. I do encourage traveling because it does broaden your horizon a lot. But at the end of the day, we live in a time where it's never been easier to make money. Everybody has a smartphone in this room, I'm assuming. That is like a magical device you have to learn anything you want to learn at any time and to create businesses with. I'm sure this gentleman on my left wishes he would have had it younger with his work ethic. The problem is people waste their time and they spend it on things that don't matter. Caring about other people's opinions, scrolling through social media, drinking, doing drugs, partying, which I like to party too. I'm not putting that down completely, but moderation. So really, why I wanted to help this area, it's because it has a special place in my heart from being from this area, and I want to help people that I believe were not given the same opportunities. When I went to main campus, Penn State, coming from Greater Allegheny, that was a culture shock. So, remember I was wearing the cargo shorts that had all like the big pockets on them and stuff, and I started getting made fun of for it by some of the guys I've met up there because they weren't used to that because it's kind of corny to wear. And I never saw so much money when you see kids that are 18 years old driving Lamborghinis around, and that was a real culture shock. But we have everything those people have and more. We just have to use our weaknesses as strengths.
Awesome. For me, key sport, the Mon Valley itself, we have so much leverage being the adversity on which we have upon our communities. Some people would say that counts us out, but I say it counts us in. And establishing a business here, I own a home in the key sport. I'm big on the water and the grass on which is in your backyard. So I can't say my mission is solely planted and rooted within the key sport, but within wherever community that I can touch, Mon Valley and beyond. It's definitely a goal, and I guess it will just be big in my heart to do so because I was a rose that was growing in the key sport. For me to be the rose and to be picked and planted somewhere else just doesn't add up and make sense to me. But that's kind of my inspiration behind it.
Before you answer, I want to pause. George, how old are you?
29.
Homeowner, right?
Yes,
In the city of McKeesport or surrounding area.
I am.
How old are you, Des? 26, homeowner. Ownership is so important. I want you all, these two young men, are light years. I was 35 before I bought my first house. So, light years. So those are examples that you all want to take, even if you don't choose to stay in the Mon Valley, because I'm not going to make anybody be planted where they don't want to be planted. But the reality is, if you can own, you want to own. I'm sorry, Lorne, but that was important to me that for you both to be sitting here under 30 and already homeowners, which is very, very important.
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
Yeah, just one thing, and don't care about how grand your first home is. It's just important about owning some property and making a smart financial decision that sets you up for success in the future. Here's a personal story, I'll keep it brief. When I bought my first home, I saved enough money, was thankfully able to buy it cash for $42,000. Then I heard from some friends from high school that a girl actually looked up how much I bought my home for and sent it out to a bunch of people I didn't really like from school. And they were clowning me for it, saying, George is living in the hood, he bought a house for 42 grand, how poor is he? And that was a bitter pill to swallow, but I used it as motivation, and now I have a lot more money than her.
Good stuff, good stuff. So Lorne, her question again, what made you want to stay rooted in the Mon Valley? Is that accurate? All right.
Well, first of all, I think we all comment on a common theme, which is bloom where you're planted at. You know, you don't necessarily, I tell people all the time, even in Los Angeles, that I wasn't from Pittsburgh, I was from the Mon Valley. I was from Brandon, you know. And the reason that I came back was because I loved the place. That is really, my mom and dad didn't quite understand it. That was a question I probably have answered a zillion times. Why would you leave Los Angeles to come back to Brandon? Well, part of the reason was, like I mentioned, I did absolutely love the place, but it was a college lecture that I sat in. They had a guest speaker, and he spoke about cream of the crop, how the cream of the crop rises to the top, and he sort of, condemned us in a browbeaten, fatherly way, that if the so-called cream of the crop, educated folks, keep leaving the places where we come from to give our talents, energy, gifts, and abilities to big corporations and other places, well, the places back home, no wonder that they look like they do. You know, it's a talent drain. And I had a hard time at first convincing my parents of what my mission was, but they understood it because I came home and I didn't just stand around. I got immediately involved. Braddock is like McKeesport. There's probably 1,000 things that need to be done. Help needed at every turn. I'm a 2-term councilman from over in Braddock, so I made sure that my talk matched my walk. And the biggest reason why I came home and stayed was because a little less than 2 months after I was home, my cousin, who I'm still working with to this day, came by the house and had a pickup truck full of drywall. It was like, come on, I need your help to make me, help me unload this drywall. He had another thing come up the next week, and I was able to match, without my gifts, talent, skills, and ability, with a family member who was into a business that construction that I didn't see a lot of people that looked like us. I never really got behind the signs of a building. I just knew you went in it, it was standing, and when you left, it was still standing. So once I got into the science and then to realize the dollars that are involved, more contracts that we can get as contractors, we have the ability to hire who we want to. So we don't have to worry about, facing discrimination and things of those sort. When you sign the checks, you can hire who you want to. So it was the allure of coming home from Braddock. First of all, I got tired of living out of a suitcase every couple of months, weeks, packing up, going back and forth. And I just wanted to be stationary more than anything, and was able to come home, get involved in entrepreneurial pursuit that I didn't see myself involved in, but was perfect for my skill set. And 30, 40 years later, I'm still working with my cousin.
But a multi-million-dollar company, so don't let them fool you. They not. He ain't out here with no hammer no more. He said he's hiring folks. Remember that. Now, all right. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What was your key to success? Like, what made you decide, like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do it now?
So again, I'll start. So I didn't have a choice. When God tells you to do something, and I'm not, pushing anybody towards religion, but I'm only speaking for myself, so just understand that. But when God tells you to do something, you don't have a choice. Now, I'll give you a little bit a very brief synopsis of how it happened. So I was a minister in Clairton, Pennsylvania. My wife and my kids and I were in church in Clairton. And of all things, IHOP opened up in Homestead. Y'all been to IHOP? And it was the first time it was in Pittsburgh. So my wife said, we're gonna take you to IHOP for Father's Day. So we went to IHOP for Father's Day. And on our way back home, well, on our way back to church in Clairton, we had to ride through Duquesne where I grew up at. So there was this little tiny church at the bottom of a hill that I'd never seen anybody go in, but it was always kept up. The grass was always cut. So Sunday morning, I said, I want to ride past this church and see if anybody is there. Lo and behold, there's a woman standing on the porch. In my whole life, I promise you all, my whole life, I've never seen anybody in this church. So I pulled over and I said, ma'am, how long have you guys been here? She said, we've been here for 100 years at that point. And I'd never seen anybody in my entire life go in that church. So I went back to visit. Long story short, we started renting that church from that church, and now we own a church. But I didn't have a choice. God is the key to my success, but I didn't really have a choice. It wasn't really something that I aspired to do. The first time I met my wife's grandfather, there was a pastor. When I shook his hand, if I be honest with you all, I was inebriated. And he said, you have the demeanor of a preacher. And I thought he was crazy because I'm like, you don't know where I just came from. Like, there's no way this kid's going to be a preacher. But lo and behold, he knew something that I didn't at that point. So for me, there really is God is the key to my success.
So I think your motivation can come from one of two places, either pain or passion. Mine came from pain, seeing people around me that had tons of potential dying, family members, friends, not living up to their potential, wasting away to drugs and alcohol. But more recently, I realized it was all part of God's plan, and every single thing was a test, and everything tested me to get to the level of success that I am now. So I want to say that God does reward those who work hard, even when everything doesn't look like it's going to work out.
I would say the secret would be, again, I tie everything into identity. So knowing who you are, knowing whose you are, and you get to find your purpose. You align with your purpose. If you do everything in an operation that is in line with your purpose, I feel like you don't lose. That's where fulfillment comes and things such as. So as long as you're in alignment with that, and that, it'll look like super diverse depending on your journey and what you're called to do in life. So it might sound a little cliche, but it's pretty that simple for me.
And I would say being prepared for when the opportunity presents itself. I always point back to the jail job because, it was a major job, and certainly there were other companies competing for that. So there was nobody else in the room that looked like us. And it was just really this, and I wish my cousin was here. He had got called away. He's up in Greensburg. His sheer perseverance to convince everyone in the room, myself included, he just went to another level because he believed that not only was he deserving of the opportunity, but had the capability to actually complete it. Now, winter of '93 was probably the worst winter. It was the blizzard of '93, and everything was, it was almost like the snowstorm we had a few years ago. And if you know the footprint of the jail, it's right against the river. And you have a timeline. And if you don't get the job completed by the drop dead date, you're talking about thousands of dollars of penalties every day. So we had everybody in the hood working down that job, from Duquesne, Braddock, and we were scooping people up. Everybody was working, and it was the fact that we were able to go ahead and take advantage of the opportunity, and as I always say, did the work. Was the key to the success of that particular job.
And I just want to add really quickly, success doesn't look like what everybody else thinks success is, right? So George is successful right now at 50 cars. Is he going to stop at 50 cars? Probably not. But if he never surpasses these 50 cars, he succeeded.
I guess just the real structure of a business alone. You get into some things, some endeavors, and you don't understand that there's actual structure beyond your purpose that you have to, be aware of and actually learn. So I guess it's being more business oriented and actually understanding the system of a business within itself.
So understanding the system, you had an aspiration, you had a goal, you had a place you wanted to end, but you had to learn some things in the interim that you wish you knew. Learning some things that you wish you knew.
I thought I was going to be a chemistry major. That didn't happen. Immediately, once I got to campus, I realized chemistry was something I did not want to do. So that was probably the biggest decision that I made, was just figuring out what my major was going to be and being able to pursue it and enjoy it at the same time. Was that your question?
Yep, that was it.
My ideas in high school were totally different than what they are now. I was actually supposed to go to the Marine Corps following high school, and that was my 5-year plan. It got derailed, so I had to pivot, and I became just, a working individual in the workforce, trying to find my way, living on my own, things such as at a very young age, straight out of high school. But it was a cultivation point for me. It was a place of development for me. So beyond high school, my ideas, because I didn't know myself, I wasn't firm and grounded within myself, based off of household, based off of role models, things such as I didn't have the guidance. So my ideas then were not what they were at 21, then following. I didn't become an entrepreneur until 24 years old. So that idea was never even in my head. Ownership of a business was never in my head. Anything such as really even ownership of a house. I bought a home at 21, but even at the age of 19, ownership of a house wasn't in my head. But when it was an idea in my head, we're doing it. So I guess just that within itself, just not being confined with your ideas in high school. Go find your way, go with the things on what you do know, gather a lot of information as you get a senior. Junior, okay. Find who you are and line your ideas up with, who you are, if I had to give any advice.
Yeah, so at 18 years old, to be completely honest, I was money hungry at 18. And that's what made me want to go to college for finance. So I'm a first generation college graduate in my family. So my parents really pushed going to school on me, even though I didn't know if I wanted to at first. And I thank God that they did. But I was watching The Wolf of Wall Street a little bit too much at that age. And I just wanted to do anything that could make me rich. Don't really like finance. I don't like doing math. If I don't have to, I can do it. But I discovered my passion because I got around more like-minded people at Penn State that had bigger dreams than the people at McKeesport. Not that McKeesport people didn't have dreams. It's just more people at Penn State. There's more cultivation to those dreams. So I was able to connect with like-minded people that were able to encourage me, and was able to start more businesses because of that environment, because your environment means so much when other people try to hold you back. And that gentleman back there, Zachary Krypta, we were able to team up and start many businesses and kept being successful. But number one thing I'd recommend at your age would be to read books, but not any book. All books are not created equal. That 50th Law one that Minotank donated, that's an amazing one. That's written by 50 Cent and Robert Greene. And that's about first changing your mentality to be receptive to learning and to be able to take that information in. Because it starts with how you think and how you absorb the information, and then you can take the information in after. But right now, man, if you want to, don't wait till you graduate. You can start a business right now.
And it's for me, when I was 18, my thought was probably like a lot of your friends' thoughts. I was the star athlete, all-conference football guard, and I wanted to go to the NFL. Nobody could tell me I wasn't going to the NFL. But then I looked at the average height of a lineman in the NFL, and they were all probably a foot taller than me. But nevertheless, that didn't deter me. I was going to the NFL. I wanted to be a D1 athlete. Nothing was going to stop me. So I walked on at Youngstown State University, and when I got there, I had two things that hit me immediately. So I didn't have a scholarship, and my mom didn't have any money. So in all 4 years, my mom contributed $2,000 to my college education. And that was the $500 that she gave me because I let her claim it on her taxes even though I was a grown man. So that was it. And I learned very quickly. I had 5 a.m. football practice, I had 8 a.m. class, and then I had to work at 1 o'clock. After doing that for one semester, I had a choice. It was either quit school or quit football. This was my dream, right? But I had to make a decision very quickly, and and pivot, like Desmond said, and was, okay, if this part of my dream is not a reality right now, I'm here, right? So I had to make a decision. I quit football, and I got a second job, and I paid for college. And I got a degree that got me a job after college. So I say that to say that even though I had dreams at 18, you have to be willing to augment your dreams in order to achieve your goal, right? Because ultimately, we all want to live comfortably. Everybody's first goal is to live comfortably and to have what you didn't have, right? And I was able to achieve that first, and it opened up my mind after that. So I'll say again, I was married in college, had my first child. My son was at graduation with me and my wife. You know what I mean? So it was moving quickly. So, you know, what you're thinking at 18, don't be stuck to it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean that you failed and that you didn't win. Does that make sense? Another question. Yes, sir.
So everybody always talks about entrepreneurship and business, but how do you actually start a business?
So, that's a great question. And we can all answer. You like guys like my answer, we can stop there. But you know, every business starts with solving a problem. Everybody thinks if I have a superior product, then people will buy it. If it's not solving a problem, nobody's going to buy it. It doesn't matter how great your product is. It doesn't matter how great your idea. It doesn't matter how great your idea is. Now, what George said was absolutely right. If you believe in it, you have faith in it, then it can absolutely happen. But if you're going to start a business, the first question you want to ask yourself is, what problem am I solving, and what's in my realm of influence that I can create and or solve a problem, right? What is that problem? Think about the person who created a pooper scooper. Who in here would have thought about a pooper scooper? I can't tell you, I don't really know the stat, but I can probably pull it up. How many pooper scoopers are sold in this country? That person had the idea to solve a problem. Like George said, they probably were like, you are crazy. Nobody wants to pick up dog poop. But guess what? It's a law in some cities. If you don't pick up your dog poop, you get cited. So this individual had a brilliant idea to start a product that many people probably didn't believe in, but they foresaw the vision. So I'm not saying that if you can't explain to me that you're solving a problem, that it's not a problem, but I'm saying that if you have an idea that's solving a problem and you know how to get to that end, you stick to it. Like they said, you know, I don't know if you were listening to some of those folks on the screen, but that's what they were talking about, that there was a problem. Whenever blacks were emancipated and freed in this country, there was a problem. We couldn't shop anywhere. We couldn't get a haircut anywhere. We couldn't do anything, right? So there was a big problem that needed to be solved. We needed grocery stores. We needed barbershops. We needed financial institutions. People thought they were crazy. Nobody's going to give a black person a bank, but they did it. So that's how you start a business. Really, it starts with an idea and an unwavering passion to solve the problem that you foresaw. And you guys can jump in if that's not adequate to your thoughts.
No, I was going to say the same thing. I'm a DJ. I've been DJing since I was 11 or 12 years old. I'm 57 now. So it's something I'm passionate about, obviously. But I started a business and really didn't know I started a business. But I was feeling the need. You know, my sisters would have parties in the basement and they needed somebody to play the music. And lo and behold, I became that guy. And like I'm saying, I'm still doing it to this day. And if anything, find something, because if you don't love what you're doing, you probably won't be doing it for very long. You know, so at 18, 19, you absolutely should have no idea what you want to do. You should be thinking ideas, okay, that didn't work, this and that, you know. Spend that time in your 20s trying to figure out what you want to do. In your 30s, that's a time where you master what it is that you want to do. By the time you hit your 40s, you're doing your own thing.
Yeah, so one thing to add on to what these gentlemen said would be, don't wait for the perfect idea. There are lots of businesses and lots of ways to make money. Zach, how many businesses did we have that didn't work out?
A ton in high school, yeah. We sold everything from knickknacks and hats and I don't even know what else, but there was a ton.
Some of those hats may or may not have been counterfeit. Give you guys a background on me. So I have started a business since I was 12. Actually sold knockoff purses at the flea market, at Rossi's Flea Market in North Versailles. And had the feds come in one day and bust my grandmother and I. It's okay, I was 12, they didn't press charges. The point of that is, I don't know where I'm going with that actually. The point of that is, don't wait for the perfect opportunity or that idea that's like this aha moment. Just do something that makes sense. So Pablo Picasso, he always said, I don't want to butcher the quote, great artists steal. Look at what's working and mimic it and come up with your own unique twist. I mean, it could be as simple as starting a lawn care business this summer, shoveling snow, just figuring out something to sell. Think about your individual strengths, what makes you unique when you look at you, and just start with something, because I didn't think I'd get into the car business when I was 18 years old. I knew nothing about cars. I still don't really know all that much about cars. That's why we have mechanics. But action, just do, practice. You're gonna fail, and embrace the failure, because every time you get back up, you're gonna come harder than you did before.
So I'll say, don't steal, innovate. It's not stealing, it's innovation. One of the great, I got you, brother, you next. One of the greatest innovations that we've seen that is kind of theft, in my opinion, is anybody ever taken a jitney in here? What's the new jitney? Uber is a new jitney. So I was saying that to say that what I hear George saying is innovate, because there's also things that are working right now that may not be being maximized, right? So having a jitney station with one phone number was not maximizing, but when you can create an app where anybody can reach it at any given time, that's innovation, right? Now I think the Uber needs to give some money to the man who invented jitney, because that was robbery. But you know, the reality is though, innovation will also lead you to a higher plane, because just because something is working doesn't mean it's working and it's being optimized. So you might be able to optimize something so that it becomes greater.
I'll speak to it too, just a compound. First, understanding entrepreneurship doesn't start when you start a business. It started, like, entrepreneurship is a spirit. Like you said, he was an entrepreneur at 12 years old, and he did not have those legalities of a business. Probably couldn't have, because he was doing illegal things. So it's that simple as understanding, you know, the mentality on which you're cultivating to even have the ownership mentality, the ownership mindset, to be an independent thinker, and to then build off of purpose and passion with that. You know, you might not find your purpose within the first endeavor you take, but as you cultivate your passions and things you have interest in, and things that are just meaningful, as Pastor said about you know, solving problems, things such as, when you look for those outlets and those areas to be able to attack, you'll find your lane somewhere where it'll just be in alignment with your purpose, and then from there you'll go into legalities, actually starting a business. I don't know if you was asking that in depth as how you actually start a business. Come see the Launchbox, and anybody better help you. But just understanding that too, that there is a little separation between an entrepreneur and actual business.
Just one more comment. And I know that starting a business can seem very intimidating when you think about all the legal stuff and taxes and paperwork. Don't worry about any of that until you're making money. Start a business, make money, then worry about getting an LLC, an accountant, and all that stuff after you're already profitable. That is all just red tape that's going to discourage you, and you're never going to get started. Do it without an LLC. Do not waste your time doing all that until you're making your first dollar.
Great point. All right, you've been waiting, brother. What's your question?
What if you have multiple talents? How would you stress it out in like 7 days? How would you do that?
So, I guess I'm one of the prime people to answer that question. So, on Sunday, I'm pastor. On Monday, I'm Launchbox facilitator. On Tuesday, I'm continuing ed director. And then on Thursday, I'm a part owner in Minotech. How about that? So that's how my days work. However, to be multifaceted in such a way, you can't really break it down into days. It goes down into hours. So when I wake up in the morning, I might be dealing with this issue, and then at 12, when Zach and George show up to have our meeting with our brother Will, then I'm on Minotech. As soon as they leave, I'm going to campus, and I got something to do there. This afternoon, once they left, I went to pick the food up and got the DVD ready for us to watch the thing this evening. So really, it boils down to being able to manage your time, and also to have high expectations of yourself, because it can quickly become overwhelming. But the reality is you just have to be able to part and parcel your day in your hours so that, everything, draws attention. Because the one thing I didn't mention, which is absolutely, a cornerstone of my life, is I got a wife and 4 sons. How about that? So now I got a son in college, right? So there's a whole lot of things that I have to manage on a daily basis. So when I leave here tonight, so one thing I do when I step foot over my front door, everything else is done, and it's my wife and my kids' time.
Do you make a schedule?
I think you just got to up your organization game. There's a zillion apps on your phone that you can use. I live and die by reminders and things. Because with so much going on during the day, I'm working. Unlike Eric, he has a son in college. I have 2 children in college at the same time. I have twin daughters that are in college. So, and I'm a football coach, midget football coach. So my days are definitely crammed, and if I didn't have things organized, it would be a mess, and I'd be a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Well, Dad's told me, take each day one at a time. Don't do it in all at once. Just do it
Prioritize our priorities, always important too. Obviously, he mentioned he wears a lot of hats. Some of those hats he can never take off. Being a father, you can't take off. You can't take off being a pastor. Those some hats you really can't ever remove them. So you think about priority and delegation as well. Think about the ability to delegate and pass on some of your responsibilities to other people. I can't say I'm there yet in my journey where I need to delegate. I'm hands-on with everything I do. I wear a few other hats as well. I would assume that I need to start now in organizing and getting ready to delegate, because the mission is only going to grow broader. So I think that's important as well.
Don't take this in a negative way, but are you using any of your talents or skills at this moment to do any business?
One is the jewelry bracelet business. I'm doing that at Washington, PA.
That's awesome.
And I start making more, keep on doing it.
So what I recommend is to hone in on that. Don't think about all the other opportunities. And as an entrepreneur with ADHD, I am scatterbrained all the time, always thinking about what's next.
My mind is
Yeah, what I would say.
it comes back.
I would say to hone in on that one thing and build that to become successful before going to your next company or worrying about all your other skills and talents, because you will get a chance to showcase those. But first, you have to master what you're doing.
Like he already said, you could be a jack of all trades but a master of none. So you have to be able to, again, harness all of those things and make sure everything's kind of congruent and working together. One of the things that I actually did in my career, I was working for a Fortune 500 company. I was this close to being in my 20s making $100,000, but it didn't align with my life. So as much as I wanted that money, I had to change because it didn't align with everything else in my life. It would have taken too much of my life to get that, and I wouldn't be the pastor, I wouldn't be the father that I am, because that would have taken, it was a 7 a.m. to a 7 p.m. job. And that means nothing else is getting done, because I'm coming home and I'm crashing. So I had to make a decision in my 20s to walk away from a 6-figure job. And it was probably one of the most difficult things that I've done, but I would say now it's the best thing that I ever did, because it gave me opportunity to hone the rest of my skills. Any other questions?
Considering the transition into teenage years into adult years, when in your life would you say you had that sort of reality check?
The day I graduated high school. My mother gave me 2 options, right? So, I wasn't the brightest student in high school. So, and my sister was a National Honor Society, so y'all know I had it bad. So I'm the guy bringing home barely C's, and my sister is like all world academia, the queen of everything. So my mom said, you got 2 options. You ain't smart like your sister, so you ain't going to college. You can go to the Army or you can go to work. That was the 2 things that she said to me. However, when I was 4 years old or 6 years old, my father told me that I was going to be the first person in his family to go to college. So I never let that go, right? So I told my mom, had to tell my mom at 18, I hear you, Mom, but I'm going to college. And as much as she supported anything that I wanted to do, she didn't necessarily believe in it, right? So that transition kind of happened very quickly. Like I told you, within my first year, I had to make a decision and quit the one thing that I loved my entire life was football. Like, there's no way that I saw myself being in my second semester in college and quitting football. Like, it just wasn't an option. I was so driven. It was the only reason I wanted to go to college was to play football. So that reality came really quickly. However, but my life experience had prepared me for it. So I'll say this to you, grab a hold of all the things that you're experiencing now and analyze them and value them for what they are, because they're going to be very helpful in that transition. Anything to add, or that's adequate?
For me, it was different. I had to grow up fast. I had to mature fast. So coming out of high school, I was given two different options. I was given an option to pay some bills, or or you gotta go. And I didn't feel comfortable with that. So I didn't feel like I was a household worth paying a bill, and that was conducive enough for me to sustain myself. So I chose, the road. And from there, I was able to discover myself a lot. Wasn't overnight. It wasn't the most fairy tale journey. I lacked some things for some years, but God, and he matured. He put me in a place, in a space where I needed to be to find myself, to have self-discovery, and who he told me I was and who he created me to be. So I don't know if I answered the question, what the question was.
I think she's feeling it. She's feeling it. Any other questions, unless these two gentlemen want to add, but any other questions? These are great questions, by the way, so please keep shooting. I'm enjoying this thoroughly.
No
Come on now,
questions,
clothing.
no
Come on, Miss
questions.
Walmart. I know you got a question with Small. You've been smiling and grinning and shaking your head. You've been all in. Go ahead, brother.
I thank you, Dad, for pushing me to do what I have to do for my projects and stuff. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'm number one brother. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
And your questions and your drive, because really entrepreneurship is it's a community, so what we build here is community. One of the things that's great is that George can talk to Desmone, and then we share ideas, right? And then we also share resources. So if I know something that you don't, then I can help you. So when you think about the Mon Valley in particular, what we want to hope to build in this space that you're in right now is a community of entrepreneurs that support each other. Not only just in word, but also in deed, right? So if I need to buy a hoodie, I'd rather buy a Think King hoodie than a Nike hoodie, right? Because Nike hoodies are cool when everybody else is wearing one, but I like to be able to walk in with something nobody else got. I'm not knocking your Nike hoodie, I like yours. But I like to be able to walk in with something that nobody else got, you know what I mean? So that piece right there. So when you think about entrepreneurship, it can be a very polarizing, lonely place, but we hope to build a culture and a community where we are able to support each other along our journey so that we can all win. Because the idea is, they say a rising tide lifts all boats. That's one of the adages that they say. But the reality is, if I can support you, and then you can support me. Like, I just learned that Alicia sells candles. I didn't know that. So I told Desmone, I was like, all right, Mother's Day, I'm buying candles from Alicia for all the mothers in the church, right? Because I always buy them a gift. So it'd be great to buy her candles, right? Now she's gonna hold me to that because she didn't know that until just now. So she already put the purchase order in, so I gotta buy the candles. But that's the reality is, when we begin to build each other up, right? So when you all turn 18, you wanna rent a car, where you renting it from? George, right? So, because again, he's right here in the Mon Valley. And the one thing, if you don't take anything away from that video, I would love to hear other things that you took away. But if you when they were talking about Greenwood and they were talking about Tulsa, they said that dollar turned over 5 times in that community before it left. So that means that money was spent 5 times with another local entrepreneur before it was even out of Tulsa. Right now, the black dollar doesn't spend one rotation in the black community. It comes in and it goes right back out. We don't, because first and foremost, we don't have any businesses. When you look, you heard the quote where it said there was 20,000 businesses in the early 1900s. We should probably be somewhere in the millions right now. In 2021, there was 160,000 black businesses in this country. Sounds like a lot, but in respect to where we should be, right? So black business in this country, and I took a screenshot of it, is only 1% of all business in America. Asian and Hispanics double us. And I'm not knocking them, but honestly, there's, we were here longer, there's more of us, right? But again, they still, I got you, brother, they still all represent less than 5%. So collectively, the cultural, all of those people, the Hispanics, the blacks, the Asians, still represent less than 10% of business collectively in this country. That's not okay. You know what I mean? Now, if you look at all the things that were done to those businesses, had they not destroyed Black Wall Street, had they not destroyed the black grocer, could you imagine how much further along we would be, right? In terms of a people in business, we would be so much further than we are right now. So you guys really are the next generation, right? We're building things that may not reach billion-dollar status, but our hopes is that you will stand on our shoulders and that you will come along and do something different. You had your hand up, bro?
Yeah, it's time to turn up.
It's time to turn up. I like that. Put that on a t-shirt. I'm gonna put your face on a t-shirt. We're gonna be millionaires off that t-shirt. It's time to turn up. Got your hand up finally,
I
sis.
don't have a question, I have a comment.
Well, I like comments too.
So I just feel like living in Keysport, I'm school oriented and I have dreams and I will accomplish them, but everybody, now.
Give me the hand. I like the hand. I like
A
it.
lot of people they're sport oriented, sports don't get you everywhere, but I just feel like a lot of people in Keysport are ignorant and it's hard for us to we don't have a lot of opportunities, I feel like.
I hear you, but what did he say? And everybody can jump in on this one. He already said it, right?
I know.
He said that the opportunity is at your fingertips. We're just not taking advantage of the opportunity. That's the reality, right? So you guys, including us as well, because we ain't too old, but the opportunity is there. We just don't seize it, right? That's the bigger challenge, is changing people's mindsets to believe that you can do it, right? And all it takes sometimes is one. All it takes is one young person to say that I can do it. And you asked the question, or you alluded to the fact that athletics becomes like the king, right? When you look at successful black males from the Keysport, you got Mike Logan, NFL. You got Khalid Hudson, NFL. There's a few others. So we can't fault them for we got Brandon Short. We can't fault them for saying that that's an opportunity, that's a way, because guess what? Somebody has already blazed that path. But who's going to be the next young person? And he's already, there two of them are sitting next to me to come along and blaze that path. But we have to highlight and illuminate them, right? So we got to rent from George so he can get to 100 cars. Not because we want George to be rich, but because somebody got to blaze the path. Make sense? But I hear you though. I hear you absolutely. Sometimes we get caught up in dollars and cents, and everything is not dollars and cents. Go ahead, George.
Why do you care what they think?
Oh no, I don't. I want other people. Like I said, I know what I have in mind, I'm going to accomplish it. I feel like, but other people at my school, it's so pushed on us to do sports. It's so pushed on us to go in that. So I feel like everybody else doesn't have the same mindset as I do.
And that's why you'll succeed.
And if nothing else you take away from what we said, is just remember, steel sharpens steel. If you can, be with like-minded people. My dad used to tell me all the time, you hang with 5 friends, you're going to be the 6th one. And he used to tell me that at an early age, and it didn't really make sense, but then I understood. It wasn't so much he was putting down my friends personally, he was talking about the mentality. If you hang with people who don't necessarily, believe in entrepreneurship, they want to go work for somebody, those are spirit killers. Then there's plenty of people out here willing to step on your dreams and aspirations. You have to believe in yourself, and a lot of that comes from, quite frankly, who you kind of blend with, and that is something that you totally can control.
Yeah, me, the only, I do lashes. Tomorrow I'm doing some of these lashes,
And that's great. Whatever seed you have in mind, cultivate it and make sure that you don't let anybody else's growth of their seed take away and hinder your growth. Usually somebody with a mindset such as is the light for others. So you'll be the inspiration. So the things that others aren't doing, you'll be that motivation, inspiration, and encouragement for them to do so. So don't count them out either. You know, so everybody develops at a different pace. Everybody has different passions and different purposes and, you know, different drives. So, you know, be that light, shine your light upon those who use things and cultivation upon, you know, their seed. That's big, especially in Keysburg, because you're right, we do lack. And a lot of that is what we do with each other, which is very, you know, it's not good at all that we knock down the next individual. As George mentioned, the crab in the bucket. Sometimes we get to the top of the bucket and we're all looking down and like just, you know, condemning those other crabs as if we can't fall right back in the bucket. So, you know, it's just important to be true to your seed and make sure you cultivate. And you said there's not a lot of resources. I'm sorry, is that what you mentioned in McKeesport? There's a lot of resources in McKeesport.
I think she was alluding more to encouragement. I think that it goes back to something Lorne said early in the conversation, was that he wanted to, we all said the same thing, we wanted to come back,
Sure.
right? And to cultivate that in our communities. The reason George, you want to hear a wild story? Like the reason that I even know George and Zach is because George came to McKeesport High School for career day. And somebody told him about the lunchbox. And he was so intrigued that he came down here and he walked through those doors and made a major donation the day that he walked in the doors. Like, kind of blew my mind. But he just didn't know about it, right? And I didn't know about him, but I want to illuminate his story every opportunity I get, because young people need to know that somebody from here was successful, and we need to change our mindset of what successful is. Because, you know, for every NFL star that we promote, every NBA star that we promote, there's 10 of them that are broke. So they didn't really succeed. They had their 15 minutes of fame. Do you want 15 minutes of fame or a life of sustainability? So we need to change our mindset, not just for you guys. You got it, because you got the hands, you got the whole, you know what I mean? You all right. But the other piece of that is getting everybody to understand that $1 million does not equal success. Sometimes $1 million equals $1 million worth of problems. And if your mind is not cultivated and your heart is not in a place to be able to sustain and manage $1 million, it's no more than $1 in your hand at that point. Was you about to say something? Or you just got you. We listening.
Regarding what she said, I feel like our school is like very limited whenever it comes to like expressing the stuff that you like to do, because like they'll empower you through like our volleyball team for the girls and like the football, but there's not a lot of more open activities for the people that don't really have a lot of interest in those two things.
Start it. You start a club that has an interest in the things that you like to do. Like-minded people, and you'd be probably surprised how many people in your school think exactly like you do. I don't want to do sports. I want to do something else, and you should. But if you don't see something, start it. That's what entrepreneurs are. Not everybody can do entrepreneurship. It sounds good. Some people will give it a try. But it's really a special breed of person. That's not to discourage anyone. Because if you hear, you probably got that germ of entrepreneurship already in you. But, there'll be people who, definitely try and shade and throw negativity your way because they're not built like you. An entrepreneur is definitely a specially built person, and you'll know it.
Yeah, I know right now it probably seems that your only options are what the school cultivates, and that you feel like you're chained to the school in a way. School is very temporary. You have a long life ahead of you. And now you have a place like this where you can actually meet like-minded people and cultivate that. I keep hearing about resources. You guys have the internet. You can join any group you want to join. There's meetups. Just do a Google search. There's tons of entrepreneurs all throughout Pittsburgh and the area. You're not limited just to McKeesport High School. And I played sports too. And I wasn't a football star like Eric. I played soccer and tennis, right? Not as cool. But you have to realize the reason the school is the way it is. My dad always told me, follow the dollar and you understand everything. They make money off of the sports. So that's why the money goes back into the sports. It's not a bad thing. Like, sports are great. I like playing sports. But don't feel limited or neglected because you feel like the spotlight's not on you from your school. Go somewhere where there is the spotlight. Like a place like this where you can cultivate ideas and learn from others. You're not chained to just what McKeesport High School tells you. Because if I listened to a bunch of those teachers, let me not swear.
PG.
Yeah. Follow your dreams, kids.
And they're all in this program called Upward Bound, who supports first-gen students who want to go to college. So all like-minded, have the goal of wanting to go to college. We have Clarendon, McKeesport, Altoona, and they're in a safe space. We're going to West Virginia University this weekend. We got to come here. We learned about AI. We learned about, what else? Alumni panel. What else have we learned? Talk us up. What do we do? We're in a like-minded space.
We stayed on a week.
Stayed on
We stayed on campus for a week.
Got
Y'all
it.
getting exposure, y'all getting information. Take all that and plan it and just keep cultivating it. I mean, there's going to be things you lack along the journey that you don't even know that you need, and that within itself doesn't it tells you that they're not that important for the right now moment. But use all that you have for the moment. There's so much leverage within the adversity on which we do have. Even those teachers who tell you and those friends who push things upon you that is not of you, it tests your dreams and your purpose. So if it makes you think more, it's going to get you to be more innovative about what is really for you. So use that as leverage within itself.
And it's cliche, and it's all of our purpose before somebody coined the term. It's just be the change that you want to see. I know people say it, and it sounds like it's cliche, but it is so much power in the fact that you can be the change that you want to see. Challenge your leaders, because I know that there's a stigma and there's an idea that you can't challenge leadership, especially in school, because they're the adults. You can challenge leadership if it's something that has merit, right? And then there are people who will support you in that, right? So Lorne said the best thing: start a club about whatever your interest is. You can start a club. Tell me why you can.
Do high school McKeesport let us start a club?
It could be
Cause I ain't seen nothing.
No, tell me who tried to start a club and was told no is my question.
So if I go to the principal, and first of all, we don't even have a lot of tech programs. Like, we don't have any techs for real. I was trying to be in allied health, but we don't have it anymore. We don't have a lot of science classes. We don't have anything like that. Like, our school is so limited. And I'm not saying like we have because we have Upward Bound, talent shows and stuff, but I mean, within the school, we don't have a lot of things that like, we don't have a lot of science classes, tech classes, or anything.
No, I get that, and you're right, and you're absolutely right, but you can't, I'm telling you now, and I know the superintendent personally, and I know the principal personally at your school. So if you told me you want to start a tech club and they told you no, I'm making a phone call. I'm promising you right now. If you told me you want to start a tech club and they told you no, I'll be at the school with you, and I'll have Dr. Wanzo and have Mr. McCall stand by.
Tell them to hire a teacher for our allied health.
I can't do that. That comes with money.
You got strings to pull.
I can make a phone call. I got money to support that. Brother's hand up is in the back.
Yo, so for me going to Clarendon, I'm kind of against the grain with stuff I do already. So I mean, like, sometimes I find myself being unmotivated because I'm in all these places doing all these things with a bunch of people who look very different than I do. And they say a lot of things, man. They say a lot of things. And I know some of that stuff doesn't hold water. They're just talking, but like, how do I deal with this?
So unpack that for us a little bit, though.
When the lights go out at night, y'all be thinking about this stuff.
Give me an example, though, of a place in the space that you've been in that you said people are saying things that are untowards.
Like, I'm the captain of my school's robotics team at Clarendon.
Right.
We'll be somewhere in Kentucky finding robots. So we're hoodied up, dreaded up. Some hick will be like, just say something crit. Is that?
No, that's fine, you're good. Say it.
You can say it.
In here, you can say that. No, we want to encourage that conversation in your words.
Something red, and then just say something slick. Like,
So here's the thing, and I'm glad that you mentioned that because, you know, everything takes perseverance, right? And again, we already saw from the beginning of the emancipation of African American people in this country that we've been, for layman's terms, hated on. You know what I mean? You're going to be hated on. The fact that you had the audacity to start a robotics team or be on a robotics team and go to Kentucky, right, where the primary portion of people don't like people who look like you, is offensive to them, right? But the reality is, you being a black robotics team in Kentucky is not going to give courage to the next one, right? I know this is not giving you any solace or any peace, because I don't necessarily have the answer to why they do it, because, you know, that's actually ingrained in people from birth. But the reality is, so I guess my real response to you is keep fighting, bro, because you need to be in that space. You need to be in that space. I know it don't feel good. I know it don't look good to be hated on. I lived in Duquesne my entire life. Y'all know Kennywood and McDonald's is right next to each other. So one day I was walking from McDonald's with my little cheeseburger, and a white woman pulled up next to me with her family in the car, and she locked her doors. Crushed me. I was like, I'm 12 and I'm eating a cheeseburger, lady. Like, what am I going to do to your car? But it crushed me, you know what I mean? But I had to persevere through that, you know what I mean? And it wasn't the last time, and unfortunately it wasn't the first time, unfortunately it won't be the last time that I experienced that. But I don't do it for me, I do it for you. I find myself in places in space. I work in a university that's called a PWI. Y'all know what that means? Predominantly white institution. So when I go to big meetings with all the campuses, I'm the only black director of continuing education out of 23 campuses. How? How does that work? You know what I mean? How does that look? In terms of the Launchbox, I'm three of another 23 of Launchbox directors. It's a lonely place, bro. But somebody got to break the barrier, and why not it be you, bro?
And that's great too, because as we're talking about ownership and entrepreneurship, and as we've seen in Tulsa, there was a lot of hate against them, you know, and they had to you know, prosper and persevere beyond that adversity, and the physical attacks and all the hate that was, you know, literally, you know, destructive to them. But when you get in positions such as pastor, when you get in positions such as George, when you get in these positions as entrepreneurs, you then get to cultivate those rooms on which you get in, and you get to make them look how you want them to look. And they don't have to just be you and the individuals that you see them to, you know, appear to be. You get to actually be that change that you mentioned. You get to be that change. It might not look good in the midst of the journey, but you come to a place in the space, you know, you have tunnel vision on where you're going, and you know, you don't worry about those things, because it's just motivation at the end of the day. Like you said, there's no peace within it unless you can find it internal. External, it won't be there.
Like George and Eric, I was an athlete too, and whenever somebody would start responding to me with slick stuff, I knew I was under their skin because I was digging in their butt. You know, not figurative, you know what I mean. But I was at a point where they didn't have no choice but to start showing me hate because I was shining, and they couldn't do nothing about it. So the slick talk, but all that starts to diminish the more you shine. It's to the point where I almost expect it now. If it doesn't happen, cool. But even, you know, in business, you will, you know, get people who want to, you know, make little slide comments and things like that. But it's something that, as you get older, don't let it affect you. You know, your skin will have to be very thick if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur. For the simple fact you're going to hear no a zillion times.
Successful with anything in life. Anything in life, there's going to be adversity. Especially something that has a prize at the end, right? Anytime there's any kind of competition, like he said, that whatever they can say to get under your skin, they're going to say it. And, you know, the minute you allow it to affect you visibly, then they ain't going to stop. It's just going to increase. So, you know, just build your resilience up, bro. And this is the harsh reality of being a black man or woman in the United States of America, right? And I don't want to sugarcoat anything. That's the reality, is that anytime you seem to be moving forward, somebody's going to hate, whether it be on the football field or in the boardroom. Somebody's going to have something to say to you, whether it be at a tech event or whether it be at the Allied Health School, right? Whatever it looks like, somebody's going to hate because ultimately you're taking somebody's position, right? But I will say, you know, some of my greatest allies in my life have been white folks, period. You know, I got to make sure you understand that, you know, people of other races are not the enemy, because there are great people amongst every hue and every color in this country.
Can I say one more thing to that? Do you like what you do?
Yeah.
Do you love what you do?
Yes.
You're good. You stay rooted there, and the hate that comes upon you will never match or be, you know, any hindrance to your journey. You'll be fine, and you'll always be sustained within that, because you'll be putting purpose over profit. If you put profit over purpose at any point, then that's when those opinions will actually get to you and will knock you off your swivel.
Let's connect later. There's a football player from Clarion who actually is competing on BattleBots, the TV show.
Just one more thing. Good quote to remember whenever people are hating on you and making you feel small. A lion doesn't lose sleep over the opinion of sheep.
And that's a mic drop, right? That's a mic drop. We got time for one more question, and then we can wrap it up. Ashley, we get all your questions in?
Yeah, I feel like you guys have talked about it, but I feel like something you hinted on, Eric, was, we want to look at the Mon Valley, this area, in 2030, 2040. And these are the students here that are gonna do that. So, just any advice, last piece of advice to give our high school students who are just trying to figure it out?
And I'll make it very brief, stay true to self and always move forward. Always move forward. There's a lot of things in life that will try to knock you back and cause you to be stagnant. Stay true to yourself and always move forward.
I think, believe it or not, this is actually a good time to be an entrepreneur in the Mon Valley. We certainly can't go any lower than what we already have. It's nothing but up from this point. Yeah, the steel mill's closed. They're not coming back. I think that there's a generation that has survived that, and I don't even have a concept of what the mills and that contributed to life around here. We are at the bottom. We're on the way up. I see things even in Braddock that I have to actually step back and say, wow, this is actually going on. And you'll see things in McKeesport and other places too. But it's really, your world at this point. You got the ability at this age to sit back and kind of decide where you want to jump in and make your mark. And I would just encourage you to continue to do it. The fact that you're here, this time at night, I'm sure you could be doing a zillion other things, but it'll be decisions like this along your career journey that you'll be glad that you did something that actually contributed to your success as opposed to something that did.
I have one. I need a little bit of advice because me personally, I'm an athlete. I love sports, but from a young age, I was taught that that's not what's gonna get me out. But that's what I love, and I'm currently at a point where it's like there's two things I want to do after high school, and I'm kind of stuck between which one I do because one I can go to college for and continue my sports, and the other one I can't at all.
So what are the two things, if you don't mind us asking?
I want to go to college for mechanical engineering, or I want to go into the STEAM fields.
Got you. So here's the thing, like I said, stay true to yourself. So the advice is, if college is a way for you to continue to your athletic aspirations, then why not? Especially if you are really passionate about engineering, right? Because here's the thing, if you don't go and you don't try it, you're gonna regret it for the rest of your life because it's what you wanted to do. So if that's what you want, and I'll share a personal story with that. So my son is shorter than me and loves football. My son he amassed over 40 sacks in his high school career. Monster on the football field, but because he's 5'7", there's no college coach that really wanted to look at him. But I told my son, I said, son, if you want to go to college and play football, I'll do everything I need to do to help you accomplish your dream. So I'm paying for his first year of college because he didn't get a scholarship. But he appreciates so much the fact that I supported his dream, and he's fighting. It ain't over. He's on the team. He made the team. He's rising on the team, and he's thriving. He has a 3.7 GPA. He's thriving because that's what he wanted to do. Now, I could have told my son the reality, right, is the likelihood of a 5'7" defensive end playing in the NFL is zero. First of all, anybody from high school playing NFL is a 0.0000 point something percent, right? That's period. And then you add in his deficiency in height, it makes it even more grave. But who am I to tell my son that that's his dream, that he shouldn't go for it? Because if he doesn't go for it and he never gets the opportunity, then it's everybody else's fault, right? So there's opportunity. If you go to college and you run track or whatever it is that you like to do and it doesn't work out, the steam fitters are still there. They ain't going nowhere. They're always going to need steam fitters. You see what I'm saying? So, I know everybody's saying it's not the way out, and it might not be, but it's your passion is what fuels you. So I'd rather feed what fuels you than to feed you something that you don't want to eat.
What's considered to be the way out? What is out in your perspective?
In my own perspective, for me, out is like y'all said. I get what y'all mean. Where it's like y'all, like this is y'all home and this is where you love. But me, this I wouldn't consider it my home because in my home I've been broken and torn down. So I would like for me, out is being successful for myself for the future to come, and it's like to be in a better situation where I won't have to always. I mean, there's danger everywhere you go, but I would rather be somewhere where I could start my own family and not have to always worry about the chances of one of my kids getting hurt, or I get hurt, or a family member get hurt. So,
Definitely, there's
so
49 other states, 6 other continents. I encourage you to follow your passion and your heart, man. If it, like Eric was saying, if it's something that you want to do, the steam fitters will always be there. The opportunity to go to school will not. As life starts to play a bigger role in your life, the opportunities just to take 5-6 hours out of the day to go to a campus becomes challenging. You have a family, a job. So if it's something that you want to do, I'm with Eric. I'd say follow your passion.
This is more of a advice question. My school is very like more computers and like paper. It's not very like hands-on, and I'm more of like a hands-on learner. How would someone that struggles with like I can adapt to doing like how the school works, but it's like it's a lot harder to actually be able to learn about what we're going over. Like in most of my classes, like all we do is take notes every day, and we'll probably get like a worksheet once in a month. And it's not like enough. Like it's probably the easiest class I have because of what we do, but it's like not enough for me to actually be engaged in what I'm learning.
Do they offer tutoring for that subject?
Our school itself doesn't offer tutoring, but the program does. And I haven't really went to it. I went to it once.
Utilize the resources.
Well, it's like, I know what days that we do it, but then by the time it comes to it starting, it's like already somewhere else. Like it's not even in my mind. Like I'm so focused on whatever I'm doing after school. It's like.
So I studied education a little bit. So I worked in K-12 education for a little over 10 years. And I'm not going to sugarcoat the answer, right? The reality is our schools they don't differentiate instruction is what it's called. That's a technical term for it. Because some people are tactile learners, some people are auditory learners. And schools are supposed to adapt to the learner as opposed to the learner adapting to the school. Because the reality is teachers have been to college, got degrees, superintendents and principals have multiple degrees and multiple years of education. So I don't fault you as a student, and can't sugarcoat the answer. There really is no answer because our schools, and I'm not particularly speaking about your schools, I'm talking about the school system in general, is failing our learners because everybody doesn't learn the same way, and that's the hard part. And I might get beat up for saying this, but we found schools that matched our students, my sons in particular, versus just sending our sons to the school that was available. So my son that's in college right now with the Shadyside Academy. That is a 45-minute ride from our front door to the school. I drove him to school for 4 years because there was no bus. Every morning I drove him to school for 4 years. I picked him up because it was important to me that my son got the resources that he needed to be a learner. And your family situation might be different, but what grade are you in? You're in 10th grade, so maybe explore some other options because our school systems are broken in that respect. They don't differentiate instruction enough to be able to encourage and or promote learning in all students because they do it one way. Like you said, there's notes and there's this and there's that. If you don't do it that way, then they don't necessarily help you out. But I know it was the answer you wanted, but unfortunately it's the only one that I had.
See, like I'm in a CTE class, and I'm in childcare. So like that for me is hands-on because we have like the preschool program. So we're going down every Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, getting the kids, bringing them up for about 3 class periods, 2 hours. So like that for me is like very interactive and it's like a very good experience. But like whenever it comes to other classes, it's not.
Congratulations. Congrats for finding something that absolutely helps you. For the rest of it, thug it out, sis. That's what you gotta do. You gotta thug it out. It is what it is.
I was just gonna ask, what class are you struggling with?
Mostly between math and honestly my honors in English.
So with math takes practice. So I went to school for finance, which is pretty math intensive. I went to tutoring at Penn State Greater Allegheny every single day for an hour because I didn't take calculus in high school because I didn't feel like I needed it. And then I went to college. I was like, okay, I guess I do need to know this. And they move very fast. So I went to tutoring every single day. So unless you're putting in the work and doing the tutoring and really trying it, you can't complain yet.
Like the math, it's not hard. It's just the regards of everything being the exact same each day.
The monotony. It's monotonous to come in and say, sit down, pull your pen and paper out, take these notes, work this equation, come back tomorrow and do the same thing. We get it.
Are you planning to go to college? It may be similar. So you may want to work out the kinks now and get used to the self-learner within you. I know, we know it's hard. We know I ain't gonna go to college, but I understand still. It's a challenge, but you're built for it. Understand that. You are built for the challenge. So, you know, tutoring is an option, you know, and then there's many resources, even just on a phone and the internet. There's many things on which you can utilize to, you know, be of your leverage as well. So it might not be the teacher who's giving you the answer, but you can have the answer.
Yeah, grind it out.
So I don't hear you struggling. You're not telling me you're struggling, right? It's the monotony of the process. That's why I said sometimes you just got to thug it out because, like he said, depending on what you want to go to college for, you might only need 1 or 2 math classes in college to get to your early childhood education degree, right? So it's a matter of understanding the fact that I have to do this because it is what it is. A few years ago, I had a program at McKeesport called Project Game. There was a young lady in our class in our sessions who was struggling in psychology. I think it was psychology, but she hated the teacher pretty much. It was like, I just can't get with him, you know what I mean? So we said, change your mindset. Go into the class and say, I gotta get this done. Lo and behold, she was failing all her tests and she changed her mindset, and then guess what? She passed the test because she was no longer worried about, quote unquote, her uncomfortability or dislike of him. It was more of, I gotta get this done. And that was the question that you asked earlier. When did you learn that when you become an adult, there's some things you just have to do? It's just some things that you just have to do. George would rather run his business and never do taxes a day in his life because he'd rather keep all his money. But he knows that come April, we got to get those taxes done because he wants his Toro business to be in business next year. Hate taxes, got to pay him. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. You know what I mean? I strongly dislike. I changed my whole major because I didn't like math. I was a business administration major. I was like, yo, me and accounting just didn't work. The teacher was just like, you're not getting it. I said, I know. You know what I'm saying? He was like, what you going to do? I said, he sat me down. He sat me down and was like, listen, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be in marketing. He was like, well, then you don't have to be a business major. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, you have enough marketing classes right now to have a marketing minor. Switch to communications, the math requirement goes away, and you got your marketing. It was the best thing I ever heard in my life. Changed my major that day and graduated a year early. I was on a 6-year plan because math was killing me. And I graduated in 5. You know what I mean? So I hear you, you know what I mean? Again, it ain't what you want to hear, but sometimes you gotta just toughen it out and push through it because it's not that you can't do it. I'm hearing that you're passing, you're getting it done. It's just the monotony of the class. It's just that those 45 minutes is gonna be the driest 45 minutes of your day, and get down there with the babies, unless y'all got the 90-minute blocks, I don't know.
Sometimes those subjects such as aren't skill builders, but they're character builders. So it might not be building a skill in math, and like I said, you might be doing well, but whatever the challenge may be, it's building something of character within you. So I understand that as well.